Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about some of the research methods. Research methods. Okay, so these are some of the examples of how they sometimes take research. Okay, so the first one is someone that we all know is an experiment. Okay, so an experiment is is what you do something, let's say in the lab, and then you try to come up with a result. So first you make observations. Or first, let's say you have a hypothesis. Okay, so that's like a prediction. It's a scientific prediction. Okay, and after that, okay, let's say in a very simplistic way, you're gonna do a lab, and then you're gonna do the results. Okay, now the results could be in a form of a report or whatever. The lab could be in different kinds of labs. Okay, but for an experiment is usually the it's a bit harder to do because you have to have different variables. You have to have an independent dependent variable. Okay, so that's the, let's say, treatment that you would give to a group of population of people, and that will result in the dependent variable. So that is the outcome. As a result of the independent variable, because you've manipulated this independent variable, you've got a dependent variable. Also, other things that you have to keep in mind is do you have the population? Okay, so you have your population here, population of people. On that population, you have to get a random sample. Okay, so you have a whole bunch of people and you randomly sample those people. So you need a sample that you're going to use for experiments, and it has to be random. So you get that random sample, which has to be a representative, or has to be a representative group. So representative group is a group that generalize clearly those people. So let's say you have females and males, you have different kinds of ethnicities in there. Those ethnicities represents the population. Okay, and after that you're gonna do a random assignment. Okay, so randomly assigning those people to either two groups, and we're talking about experiment here. We're talking about a an experimental mental group and a control group. The experimental group gets the independent variable, the control do not, they get the placebo. Okay, so that's where the placebo effects comes in. The placebo effect. Okay, so here it's very important to analyze. So that is just a quick summary of the experiment. Now another thing that is commonly used is a case study. Okay, so case study is that you have a group of people and you're studying those people in great depth. Okay, sometimes in a great depth, right? So you're taking them for a longer period of time. The third one is going to be a survey. Okay, so you're surveying people. This could be on internet. There's a lot of limitations to a survey. However, it gives you great access to quick data. Some of the limitations could be that the wording effect. Some people may not understand the question correctly, and thus this would influence their answers. You have limited access to questions that you could write and limited response, and you could have, so those are some of the limitations of a survey, but it could be a general to get an overview of what you have, just a quick idea. Some other research methods are the naturalistic observation. Okay, so here's where you're observing a group of people or animals or whatever that is in their natural habitat, where you don't um, engage, where you don't manipulate anything that is happening, right? So you're just observing and just staying there and just seeing. For example, you're just saying in a school, for example, so you're just getting data on, for example, people who wears a uniform and people who do not. And so that's where you get the naturalistic observation, gives a clear idea, but you cannot manipulate any of the variables. However, it's very important to whatever conducting a research is to look at the ethical principles such as confidentiality, debriefing, written consent, and protection for the population or the sample that you're drawing from. Okay, and the last one we're going to talk about today is, of course, there are more than these. There's the longitudinal studies, there are cross-sectional studies, longitudinal studies when you study people for a long period of time, cross-sectional taking people from different ages and studying them. But today we have just going to talk about these five, and the fifth one is going to be correlation studies. Okay, so correlation study is that you're going to determine the cause. So let's say it's very here, so you have variable x and variable y. So you're going to see, okay, is there a positive correlation between them? So that's going to be a positive correlation going up, or is it a negative correlation that is going to be going down? So what does that mean? Well, if you have more of x, then y is going to decrease. That's an irreversible proportional correlation. So that is also called the negative correlation, right? You have also, if for example x decreased and y decreased, then that is positive correlation. Okay, even though they've decreased, but we're talking about if something increased, will the other increase or decrease as a result of that first. Okay, so that's just the correlation studies. It does not determine the cause, but it determines if something correlates with another. Hope that was helpful, and thank you so much.